Hi, I'm Dr. Kate from HypnoTC, the Hypnotherapy Training Company. And today I'd like to talk to you about a very interesting type of induction, the confusion induction. Now, you may not have encountered this on many other hypnotherapy courses because it's not commonly taught, yet it is so useful. I tend to use it with people who are analytical, people who don't engage well with simple physical rapid inductions, and those who don't necessarily like the slower, more progressive relaxation type inductions. And we're going to explore 3 different components of a confusion induction. It's a good idea to have more than one component, and in fact as many as you can often works very well. So the first component is visual. Now, you might be familiar with things like eye fixation, where you look up at a point or even something moving. That's not quite enough though. So if you're going to ask somebody to look up at the ceiling, what you could do is stand to the side of them and actually bring your hand over the top of their head. If you were to do that now, look up to the ceiling, bring your hand across, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's weird, what's going on there? You might also be familiar with something like the moving fingers, like the butterfly fingers, where not only are you going across horizontally, but you can go vertically and make it even better. Go 3D and make it truly random. If you watch that for a while, wow, that becomes confusing all by itself. Now, you might also like to use something. It might be the pen that you're using. Get somebody to look at a pen moving up, down, and then moving at weird random directions and angles. Or you might even have the classic hypnotist watch. But rather than just swinging it from side to side, gently, rhythmically, maybe twist it so that you get that flicker, that variation. It becomes quite difficult to follow visually. You might even get somebody to open and close their eyes. Perhaps if you're incorporating counting, we're going to come on to that in a moment, get them maybe to open their eyes on 1, to close their eyes on 2, then open their eyes on 3 and 4, close their eyes on 3 and 4. All of a sudden, it starts to get quite complicated. However, just one element, although a little confusing, isn't really enough to overload the mind. So add in something else. The next one to add in is the mind. And cognitive approaches are really useful. Counting is good, but just counting backwards or forwards is quite simple. All of us can do that. Yet complicated mathematics adds another dimension. If you say ask somebody to start at 799 and then alternately subtract 7 and then 4 or 7, 4 and then 11, it gets to be quite complicated. They're having to really focus. And if that's too easy for them, maybe you get an accountant, ask them to do it quicker and quicker. Alternatively, if you don't necessarily like to give them counting, you could ask them to maybe spell their name backwards, quicker and quicker, or just say the vowels and then the consonants, something where they're really having to think about what they're doing. You might even ask them to think more deeply, maybe naming all of the capital cities in Europe. Don't know whether I could do that. Now, as well as the wonderful elements that visual give you and cognitive give you, there is also the physical. So it might be something like getting them to rotate their hands. And every time you say a cue word or click your fingers, they have to rotate the other direction. So forwards, backwards, you might get them to alternate how they do their hand. I got confused then, didn't I? Something like that. Add in something even more complicated, do both the hands and then have to move one foot in one direction. It gets to be quite an overload all by itself. Now, if you want to be super creative, practice this doing visual plus cognitive plus physical. You'll certainly achieve a really good overload, and your clients and the people that you work with will think you're incredible because they'll be getting a wonderful experience. It's so good to see these sorts of things in action. So here's Rory, who's going to demonstrate some of these right now.
So if you can turn to face me just a little bit. So what's going to happen when you get hypnotized this time, your legs will remain strong beneath you. You are going to stay standing up. Feel free, if you haven't done any hypnosis standing up, and then do the sit down. You can perfectly easily do confusion induction sitting down as well. But just for this example, you're happy to remain standing up and going in hypnosis? Yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So with your feet about shoulders width apart, drop your hands down for me. So what I would like you to do, I would like you to look up at the ceiling. I'd like you to imagine drawing a line across the ceiling as wide as you can, looking from left to right, and do that now. As you keep doing that, I'd like you to say your name backwards as fast as your full name backwards, including middle name, as fast as you can, as you start tapping your left foot up and down, and you can sleep, relax, stand deeper and deeper. So that's quite a lot of stuff to process at that time, looking at the ceiling, up and down along the ceiling as she spelled her name backwards. Also, then when she looked confused, I started to get her to tap her foot, and I think she got one tap in before you noticed that kind of rabbit in the headlights kind of, oh my God. At that point, a gentle tap on the shoulder when I said sleep, and immediately she just dropped down into hypnosis, and 1, 2, 3, eyes open, wide awake. You weren't expecting that one, were you?
That was confusing.
Okay, this time, what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to take your hands, give them a little rub. Now I'd like you to rub the backs of your hands, and now I'd like you to rub the fronts of your hands. And as you do that, I'd like you to shuffle your feet in, then out, then in, then out. And as you continue to do that, count from 500 backwards, minusing 3, and then 5. Start now. Go quicker, fast. Come on, quick. Sleep, sleep deeper. At that point, you didn't even need to get to that counting. It was just kind of like, there was too much going on. 2 physical things, very different areas of the body. You never rub your hands backwards. That's weird, right? So 1, 2, 3, eyes open, wide awake. How was that?
That was confusing.
Fantastic. So those are just 2 really quick examples of confusion inductions. You can combine any of the elements that Kate mentioned to create a really confusion induction. And if someone doesn't look confused, add something else. One key thing with confusion inductions, as a hypnotist, sometimes you can get confused too, so it's a really good thing to practice as much as you can.
That's true. We hope you enjoyed this video on confusion inductions. This is just one of the many inductions that we teach on our Hypnotherapy Diploma course. To find out more about those and everything else that we teach on the Diploma course, have a look on hypnotc.com. Thank you for watching.